Hi, we shall now discuss the theories regarding Adler, Adler's individualistic theory, and we will be doing the procedures and the techniques related to that theory. This is part 2, as we have discussed in part 1 that the theory itself, and now we are going to concentrate on the techniques which are connected with that theory. Now here we can see that the first one we have is the role playing technique, where we make the client play the role which is important for him, and because of his restrictions, his inhibitions to face that particular role, he is not able to achieve his goal. For example, a client may be thinking that he is capable of doing more work and he is actually deserving a better position in the company where he is working. But he has inhibition about going and talking to his boss and putting forward his suggestion that he can carry on with this work and he can improve on it and he can do it better, and he should be given that kind of responsibility, which ultimately would lead to his earning a better salary. Now, if this is his inhibition, in the counseling session, the counselor helps him to overcome this kind of inhibition by making him play the role of the boss, and they work in collaboration with each other, where the counselor is the boss and the client is the worker, where he puts forward his things to the boss, and the boss, as a boss, the counselor will give out all the possible objections or questions which the client will have to answer, and this is how he will develop the confidence, because he will know how he has to be prepared for that kind of a talk with his boss. That kind of interaction that will take place in his boss's cabin. So this is where the counselor helps the counselee by allowing him to play the role of the person who he is maybe scared of facing. Now, the next one that we have in the technique, and these are all given in your notes also and explained quite much in detail, is we say stop playing the martyr. Now, you've seen this, people have that habit of acting as if they have sacrificed so much in their life for the client, and the client is all the time made to feel that they are under their obligation, and that is how the person who is superior or in a position where he can say that I have done this for you, that for you, is trying to take advantage of the counselee's position as a person who is dependent or person who is under his control. So in this case, say for example, father can tell his children, look, I am working so hard so that we can have a better life, to give you the better education and to give you this better kind of life, and you have no sense of obligation towards me, you have got no sense about how to behave and how to use this kind of facilities which are not given by every father. It is me who is feeling responsible and giving you this kind of lifestyle. So the father here is acting like a martyr, and he is trying to assert his sacrifices to his family. This you see often even in the schools and in the universities, where the teachers also claim we do so much for you, and they blame the students for not responding in the same way or not having any any appreciation for their kind of work. So here the person is working or acting like a martyr. Now here the counselor, when he comes in contact with such a counselee who is trying to act like a martyr, tries to make him realize how he is doing things which he claims to be doing for his family or for his students, is actually doing for himself. That is his duty that he is performing. That is his job that he is performing. That is his responsibility that he needs to take. So there is no question of acting like a martyr. Now this leads us to the next technique, and that is the self-correction technique. Here sometimes people have gone forward and given up some of their habits, bad habits you can say. Like say for example they have given up smoking, or they have given up talking big to their family, like in case of being showing as if they are the martyr. So in this case what happens is the person is tempted again, or maybe it is unconsciously done. He will be going back in his old pattern of working. So in this case the counselor tells or trains the counselee to check himself, and when he is checking himself, okay, I am with my friends and I am once again tempted to smoke. Alright, so here comes the technique of self-correction. One has to hold oneself and remind oneself, I took so much trouble giving up smoking, now I don't want to go back. Okay. For the father who was acting like a martyr, maybe he can think to himself, look, I am only doing my duty. Maybe I can talk differently to my children and they would understand it better, and he stops being a martyr. This is the way the self-correction works, and people do not again submit to the habits and the undesirable behavior patterns which they have already given up. Now the next one, the technique is about the push button technique. Here the counselor is providing the counselee with two buttons. Now there are one button which you push and you see the positive side of life, and then there is another button which you push and you see the negative side of life, and you are sad and you are depressed and you feel, oh, life is very difficult and it's not worth living. On the other side, when you push the button which is pleasurable button, you are reminded of the good side of life and how very happy you can be, how very constructive you can be. So there are two buttons which are provided to the counseling. Now to give you the example of this, suppose if there is a lady who comes to the counselor and who says, look, I had such a nice good career, I gave up that just to get married to this man, and now he is not at all caring for me, he is just interested in his job, and I am left alone at home and I have nothing to do. I have given up such a good career to marry him, but now I feel that I should not have done it. Now the counselor goes through the pattern of her thinking and he makes her realize, first of all, why did you get married and why did you give up the job? Because you like this man, because you were in love with him. At that moment, at that time, you were ready to sacrifice and give up anything that was necessary to give up for him. Now, when you have a comfortable life and he is working hard and he is trying to give you a good life, you are complaining about it because you feel you should have been working and you should not have given up your career. now decide on what you really wanted in life and what you would want to happen. Now, there are two ways of thinking about it. She can think that, see, I got married to a man who loves me and who I love also, and we are having a very comfortable life. He is a very responsible person. He goes to work. He earns enough money so that we can be living very comfortably. On the other hand, she can also think that, what is this? I gave up my career and now I'm just sitting at home. I'm feeling useless. What is the use of my all education, etc., etc. So there are two ways of looking at the same situation. You press the positive button and you think of the positive side of the life that you are living, and you press the negative button and you see the negative side of the life and how you are now suffering because you have given up your career, etc. Now, the counselor sends the counselee home with both these buttons and with the instructions that whenever you are feeling down and sad, decide on what button you want to press. You press the positive side, you start thinking about the positive side of the life, and you press the negative button, and you start thinking the negative side of the life. Once this is clear in the client's mind, then the counselee may be able to connect both the sides, positive, negative, and find a solution to her problem, which may be suggesting the husband that she can work also part-time or from home or whatever the solution may be. So it is best to see both the sides, because every situation, like every coin, has got both the sides, positive as well as negative. So one has to decide on what side you want to see, and then you have to work for the solution that would be helpful to you to feel more comfortable and forming a new goal for your life. Then there is another aspect to your counseling, and that is the counselees form a trap for the counselor, and this is a kind of resistance that we often see in our counselees. Now, it is for the counselors to understand this and to know that this is a trap that the counselee may be laying for him to get caught in. So the counselors have to be careful about it. Now, for example, there are some counselees who all the time keep on putting words like, you know how it is, you know how difficult it is nowadays even to travel. See, every time I'm starting from home on time, but you know how this transport system is so bad, and that is the reason why I get late. Now, counselor has to be very careful not to fall into the trap of you know. Okay, so counselors have to be keeping their position very carefully safe and tell the client that I don't know what you are facing, so please explain. Alright? People keep on talking like that, you know how bad the government is, you know all our education system, what they are doing. You know, what is this you know? I don't know anything. You explain to me, because it is not my conceptions which are going to be useful to your life, isn't it? It is, you have to see what is disturbing you and what you need to do to change your situations. So we should be interested in your way of thinking, your way of looking at things, your way of behaving and counter behaving to the situation. So that is the trap that the counselors need to always be careful not to fall into. The other side of the technique is also keeping records. Now, say for example, if a person wants to reduce his weight, right? So there are so many things that have been told in the counseling situation. So then we come to the conclusion that the person has to say reduce by 15 kgs. All right. How do you go about it? I will reduce 3 kgs every 15 days. All right. In that case, what is your weight now? Prepare a diary and write down. My current weight this. So, what is your target after 1 week? If it is 15 kgs more, my weight should be 12 kgs less. Alright, so your target is reducing the 12 kg, reducing by 3 kgs every 15 days. So, how does it go? That means the client has to weigh himself or herself regularly and see how they are progressing. This will be related to what is the changes, what are the changes that they need to bring even in their diet, in their exercising pattern, in their lifestyle, etc. So, the diary keeping is going to help the client to really see where the pitfalls are and how they need to take care and improve their situations so that they can achieve their goals. Even in for the students when they are studying, the keeping the diary helps them to know how much they are achieving per day or per week and how they are going to meet their goal of say scoring certain marks or coming from grade 2 to second class marks to the first class marks, etc. So it can be helpful to keeping a diary. Person who is interested in also say for example writing, keeping a diary, and also people who have the complaint, I want to do this but I have no time. Ask them to keep a diary. Find out every hour what you are achieving, what you are doing, and then they will find the gaps. Here I wasted my time. I can use this for this purpose. So keeping a diary helps the person to achieve his goals. His okay. Now we go to the next one, which is the paradoxical intention. This is something which is going with the current. Okay. So, for example, the client has a habit of say keep on adjusting his hair, for example. So you go along with the client and tell him every minute you have to adjust your hair. Take out the comb, adjust your hair. There are some people, some ladies who want to keep on pulling down their dresses. Okay, ask them to keep on doing it. Alright, there are some people who want to all the time butt in. You see, they don't want to listen to what the others are saying, but they feel that they are smarter. Ask them to keep saying the same subject. Now suppose if we are talking about say for example the situation in the environment about corona. So you start saying something and they will be all the time butting in and trying to show that they also have that information, or maybe they have got a better information than you are having. So ask those people as soon as they butt in to keep on talking. Keep talking about that particular subject and give all the information that is possible, and this is the way you go along with them. You allow them to do what they wanted to do, but now you are giving it a push and pushing into such a edge that they have to be really continuing with whatever the action they were doing. Then there is this last one that we have come to. This technique is immediacy. It has nothing to do with immediately. It's totally a different thing. Immediately means you do something immediately. Just do it now. Leave everything else and do it immediately. Pay attention, do it immediately. That is different. Now your immediacy means that whatever is happening, whatever we are learning, whatever we are experiencing in the counseling situation is carried by the counselee in the outside world, and it is related to the counselee's way of behaving and thinking, not only in the counseling situation, not in that only in that room, but also taking it out and using it over there. Similarly, the outside situation is also brought into the counseling situation. For example, if there is a client who is, say, he keeps on forgetting about paying his counseling fees, and he'll every time come with some kind of a excuse. Oh, I'm so sorry, I left early, I left in a hurry, I forgot my wallet, whatever. So he gives you this kind of excuses every time. Now this is what is you part of your data as a counselor. Now another time when he is coming up with some kind of a problem and he says that person has borrowed my money and he promised to give me at such a such date. Now already 3 months over have gone and he is still not paying me, and he is so irresponsible about his payments. That is a time when the counselor can bring about from his data that don't you also have that kind of excuse when you are paying me late, when you are paying for your counseling fees at least 2 weeks late or sometimes even 3 weeks late, and you have some excuse or the other. This your client is also doing the same thing with you. There are people who are also late in payments of their EMI and all, and that's why the companies are so very strict with it. So these are the reasons why immediacy is something that we need to bring forward to the consciousness of the client, because if once they understand that this is the tendency that they have, they will try to improve. So this is how we have seen all the techniques, most of the techniques that are used in Adlerian therapy, and it's not that we are restricting these only in the Adlerian therapy. See, finally, when you learn more theories, you will realize that sometimes the theories also overlap. Okay, that's one thing. Secondly, there is no such restriction that if you are working with a client and if you feel that this technique will be useful in this case, in this situation, you can definitely take it from Adler or from anywhere else and apply that technique for that situation for that client, because our basic intention as counselors is to help the client overcome his problem. We are in that sense tutors. We are in that sense responsible for the clients doing better in their life and improving in their situations. So there is no such demarcation. These techniques are very helpful in bringing about change in the client's life, and they can be borrowed at any time. Even in future, when we do other theories, we can be borrowing some of these techniques for our work. So with that, we have come to the end of today's lecture, and this will be the end of the lecture on Adler, and we will next time see our chapter 6. Your notes, which is very important also, because all these things which I have talked about is very much in detail explained over there. Bye.